Hello everyone, Tutu Mora here with the Y, bringing you tools to feel well in your body, mind, and spirit. So this week it's all about the back. So many of us experience lower back pain, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today, is releasing some of that pressure, pain, and tension that can be held in the lower lumbar spine. So as always, this is just an invitation for you to start a dialogue with your own body. If any of the stretches or the recommendations that you hear today don't feel right to you, or you want to run them by your doctor, please feel free to do so. This is just an invitation to get that dialogue going. So all you're going to need today is a yoga block like this, or you can use a pillow. We're going to be sitting on it during a couple exercises. So if you do choose a pillow, I would opt for a pillow that is a little bit on the firmer side. Okay, so we're gonna start lying down on your mat, and I'll just join you there. So I'm gonna tilt my screen down so you can see. Okay, so let's start lying down here, feet about hip distance apart, feet planted firmly on the mat. So as we're here, just becoming aware of your body and the weight of it on the mat. So you might be aware perhaps that your spine is naturally in an arched back position. You might be aware that your shoulders are pretty tense and picked up from the mat. Or you might just notice that it feels a little tense in general. So let's take a couple deep breaths here on the mat and see if you can just let some of the tension in your body soften a little bit, sending your breath to any of those spaces that feel a little bit clenched. Let's take one more here. And so we're going to start this series with a couple of pelvic curls and pelvic extensions. So as you're resting on the mat, becoming aware of where your back pants pockets would be if you had back pants pockets on your pants right now. So you've got the bottom of that pocket and you've got the top of that pocket. And your neutral pelvis is going to sit right between the bottom and the top. So taking your curl, we're going to tilt that pelvis, almost like we're going to curl the tailbone. So now we're resting heavier on the top of those back pants pockets. So see if you can try that, gently tilting that pelvis, curling the tailbone, resting heavy on the top of those back pants pockets. And then we're going to take that back down to your neutral pelvis, so equally sitting between the top and the bottom. And then we're going to take that into pelvic extension. So resting more of the weight onto the bottom of the back pants pocket. So it'll feel like you're gently imprinting that tailbone into the mat. You might even have a little bit of a micro arch through the back. So let's take that back and forth as if we're just massaging out that lower lumbar spine. Taking it back to neutral, and then taking it into your pelvic curl. So curling that tailbone, tilting that pelvis, as you start to rest more of that weight onto the top of your back pants pockets. And then we'll go back down to your pelvic extension. Let's take a few more of these at your own pace, perhaps breathing as you do so, nice, full, and deep breaths all the way down into your low belly. I would also invite you, as you continue to take your pelvic curl and pelvic extension, to just take a scan of the rest of your body. Where are you holding any tension that perhaps you could let soften just a little bit as you continue this movement? So let's come back to our neutral pelvis, which we're going to be sitting roughly in the middle of the top and the bottom of those back pants pockets. And we're going to extend that left leg long. So straight out onto the mat. And now that right leg, we're gonna bring it in towards our body as much as you're able. And we're just gonna support that with our hands here. So we don't wanna be gripping terribly through that shoulders and neck here. So just a loose, supported grip here on your thigh as you're able. And so what we're gonna do is allowing your leg bone to stay heavy in the hip socket. We're just gonna gently bring that thigh in towards our torso. Taking a nice deep breath as we do. And then keeping that weightedness of the leg in the back of the hip socket, we're gonna start to just stir that leg over to the side, so across the body here, as if it's reaching towards the opposite shoulder. Again, letting it continue to rest heavy in the back of the hip socket. And then we'll take it down till the feet are firmly planted on the mat here. Before then, taking it back up towards our body, supporting it with our hands, letting that leg come in towards your torso as it sinks into the back of the hip socket. Finding that gentle stretch, almost like it's reaching towards the shoulder on that same side, and then stirring it, staying heavy in the hip socket, stirring it so it starts to reach towards the opposite shoulder. As you breathe, and then stirring it around until we get back to the bottom here. And so if you want to take that stretch again, feel free to take it as many times as you'd like. But for the purposes of this video, we're gonna bring the other leg back to bent, hip distance apart here. Let's take another pelvic curl, noticing perhaps how it feels on the side that we just opened up a little bit. So it might feel a little bit looser now on that right side of the body. So let's balance it out, letting that right leg straighten out on the mat. We'll bring that left leg in towards us, knowing that perhaps this side is gonna feel a little different. The sides of the body are not gonna be always completely symmetrical. So letting this be its own experience here. So as you bring that leg in towards you, again, letting that femur head drop into the back of the hip socket. As you bring it, reaching towards the shoulder on that same side before then stirring it over across the body to reach towards the opposite shoulder. Breathing as you go. Breath can be such an important tool in creating space, breaking up tension. So let's let that foot rest back on the mat here before then taking it back up. Leg in towards your torso, reaching towards the shoulder of the same side as the leg bone drops in the back of the hip socket. And then we'll again just stir that leg over across the body, still gently supporting it with your hands, reaching towards the opposite shoulder. And then back down onto the mat. So let's again check in with our pelvic curl. So letting both legs bend, feet hip distance apart, taking that pelvic curl, which should feel a little bit looser. Maybe you notice you have a little bit more articulation, a little bit more fluidity in that lower lumbar spine. So now you're gonna go ahead and sit up, and we're gonna take our yoga block. We're gonna sit on this yoga block or your firm pillow. So we're gonna sit on the yoga block because often when our lower back is tight, that can indicate some tightness in the hamstrings. And so the block is just gonna be gently supporting that tightness and helping us to relieve that through the hamstrings as well. So legs straight out, mat width apart, reaching through the heels. So just a gentle flex through the foot. Arms are going to come straight out in front of you. I'm gonna tilt my screen just a little bit further up so you can see my body. And so as you're sitting there, arms straight out in front of you, let those shoulders drop away from your ears. And now we're gonna bring those palms together as if in a prayer hands position, and your thumbs and your sternum are going to be almost like they're connected. They want to stay in the same plane. So let those shoulders drop, and we're gonna take this into a little rotation. So you might be tempted to let your hands swing before your shoulders, but see if you can keep that connection, thumbs to your sternum. I'm gonna rotate the torso. And now taking a deep breath into the back of the rib cage. Nice deep inhale. On your exhale, you're gonna find a little more rotation. I'm gonna take that to the other side. Rotating here, taking a nice deep breath through the back of the rib cage. So as if you're gonna puff out that whole back of the rib cage. On your exhale, finding even more rotation. One more time to each side. Deep inhale, rotation. Nice. Arms straight out in front of you. And as if your back is leaning against a wall, we're just going to gently tuck the chin, articulate down as if we're peeling our back away from that wall, reaching forward through the crown of the head, lengthening through the spine. As you breathe, as you reach, and then stacking all the way back up. Nice tall posture here, and we'll do that again. Reaching through the crown of the head, lengthening as if you were going to create space in between every vertebrae of your spine, and then stacking all the way back up. And we're gonna take the rotation and reach, we're gonna put it together. So our left hand is gonna reach towards the right foot, right arm is gonna come back behind us as we reach and lengthen with that twist. And then we're gonna take that to the other side. One more time to each side. Allowing yourself to stack all the way back up between each rotation. Lengthen and breathe. Nice, stacking all the way back up. And now you can let go of your block, and I'll meet you down onto your stomach. So, here we are. And we're gonna bring our palms right out in front of us. Once again, I'm just gonna change that orientation of the screen so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so palms are straight out in front, pelvis is heavy on the mat. And so we're gonna take a little back extension that we're gonna do two ways. So from here, we're gonna bring our elbows wide on the mat as if your elbow tips are hugging the ends of the mat. Lengthening through the crown of the head, we're just gonna lift up as if you're lifting that sternum to face the wall in front of you before then setting it right back down. And we'll take that one more time, lifting up, hugging the ends of the mat with your elbow tips, and allowing your shoulders to remain down and away from the ears. And so you can do that as many times as you'd like, and I'm gonna offer another option here. So forearms straight out here as if you're like a little Sphinx cat. Hands spread on the mat. And we're just going to raise those elbows up. Once again, lengthening through that spine. Breathing and letting that pelvis be heavy on the mat, resting back down. One more time, shoulders down, shoulder blades perhaps feeling like they're gliding down the back towards each other, and resting back down. So from here, we're gonna scoop up onto all fours, and then we're gonna sit back into a child's pose. Reaching those arms out in front of you, and sitting back into your sit bones. And so from here, we're gonna move our left arm over to the left side. Right arm is gonna come on top of the left hand. And we're just gonna reach through that right arm to give yourself a nice stretch down that right side. And then we'll take that same thing over to the other side. Reaching as you sit back into your child's pose. One more time here at the center, perhaps sitting back further. Coming up onto all fours, and then carefully sitting all the way back up. So, I hope after those stretches, your low back feels a little bit looser. We've moved it in a bunch of ranges of motion, so it should feel a little bit more, almost like it's lubricated and ready to carry you on through your day. So thanks so much for joining. As always, if you like this video, please feel free to like it below, and I'll see you back here next time on the Y's YouTube channel. Take care.